If you're a beginning final expense remote-based life insurance agent or thinking about selling final expense remotely, this video is for you. I'm going to be doing an analysis of a top producer's inbound TV lead sales call. You're going to hear exactly how the call opens, how value is built through the middle of the call, and how the sale is closed. And my goal for you is to really learn what it sounds like to sound good on the phone, what specific words to say, maybe even some things this agent can improve on, all with the goal of helping you become a top producer. And without further ado, let's begin.
With Duford Insurance Group, I see you're calling about the life insurance final expense coverage.
Yes.
So as far as the opening goes, that's when you start the call. So these calls initiate from a television commercial and our agents answer them live. And the call opening is very simple. It's just acknowledging that they called in to ask about a final expense life insurance quote. There's no magic here as far as what is said, but the tone, I would say, if anything, is magical. It's that. So one thing I'll go back, I want you to listen to is how Gloria, the agent, sounded, because if there's one takeaway from how openings best perform, it's making sure that you put your best foot forward in how you sound to your prospect. That's really what people are judging you on. It's unusual that you'll say something so dumb that they'll just hang up on you, even if your script isn't perfect. But if you sound suspicious, you sound skeptical, you sound like you can't be trusted, the client will be able to read through whatever you're saying, no matter how good the word track is, and just not do business. They just won't do business with it. They'll talk to you even, but they won't even buy from you. So listen to how Gloria sounds again, because it's just instructive on what good tone sounds like.
With Duford Insurance Group, I see you're calling about the life insurance final expense coverage.
So it's positive. There's an upwards inflection. It sounds like somebody who wants to talk to you, but they're not over the top crazy doing the ShamWow guy routine. And they're definitely not monotone talking like this that will bore anybody to death. Okay. So takeaway number one, when you do your openings, make sure that you sound upbeat, make sure you get to the point quickly, and then progress to the next. Because again, last point, very last point till we move on, is that the opening is how you close. If you're new, biggest takeaway I can tell you from this is you got to practice your opening, whether you're doing inbound TV leads like what we do at Dig Agency, or you're doing outbound calls to leads. Man, you got to be good on those first 15 to 20 seconds. Because if you don't sound good, you don't overcome objections well, I don't care about the rest of your presentation. You're dead in the water. You're not going to make any money. You're going to fail. So you have to practice your opening and get really, really good at it.
Yes.
Okay. Is this for you or is it for a loved one?
It's for me.
For you? Okay. And then who am I speaking to?
So these are some introductory questions here just to kind of get into the mix. Is this for yourself or a loved one? Who am I speaking to? Just to kind of break the ice. We ask simple questions just to kind of build some momentum to get the conversation moving along. Nothing magical here, just to kind of get through that initial inertia that everybody calling in or being called on has when they're kind of trying to read between the lines and judge whether they should actually listen to you or not.
In case you missed it, I'm Gloria. And what I do is I'm a licensed broker here in the state of North Carolina, and I shop with 20 different insurance carriers, so we can kind of do a lot of the shopping for you. Is this your first policy, or do you?
So that was the opening statement or establishment of who you are and why they should care. Gloria said, I'm Gloria. I'm a licensed agent in North Carolina, presumably where the agent or the client lives. And I am a broker, which means I shop the major companies to find you the best combination of coverage and price. Why do clients like and need to hear that? Because they don't think you're any different from the State Farm or the Allstate guy or some bad experience with another insurance agent. You need to give them a reason to believe in you that's unique and special sounding. And the fact that we deal with fixed income seniors in final expense means if you reference the fact that you're shopping and working to get them the best deal, they like that. So you want to make sure that you mention that on the phone. A couple other pro tips I would add that Gloria didn't do. I would absolutely add, if you work with a brand name company that's recognizable, to mention it. So if you say, hey, I'm a broker, I shop around, I work with companies like Mutual of Omaha or Gerber. If you actually do, you should name drop, because by tying yourself to an established name brand company, you're looking better as a complete stranger in their eyes. Again, it's done all the time. Companies hire influencers to represent and endorse their products, to give them some notoriety and some establishment so the trust barrier can be breached. Likewise, you need to do same in your scripting. Let's continue.
Do you have coverage?
No, I work for, but I'm ready to retire. So I'm trying to figure out, like, all those policies I had at work, I cannot take with me.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I don't believe I can. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I
or
don't
if they
believe
make you
so.
pay for it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I
that.
don't see why. I've been with the 3, and
Oh
I've been
my
there
gosh,
paying for all that insurance. So I don't even know how that works.
Sure.
So now we've established a reason why, and the client willingly gave it. So what was the reason why? I'm retiring from a bank and I have this insurance and I can't take it with me. She's upset. She's done enough research to recognize that's her situation. And she knows she needs to carry some life insurance as she goes into retirement. So this is important, guys, because every sales call, you need to have a reason why you're doing what you're doing. It is a waste of your time to pitch somebody without knowing at least, or having an idea of at least, what it is that motivates them. Remember, this person called in off of a television commercial, or maybe was called, and we do this with outbound calls too. They call and they picked up the phone and they filled out a form online. Are these people crazy? Do they not know what's going to happen? A salesperson's going to have them. I know if I fill out a form as well as you do, somebody's going to call me, email me, text me. So there is some sort of motivation that exceeds the risk of talking to a salesperson, right? So here's my point. There is something there you need to discover through good questioning to then figure out what motivated that person to deal with a salesperson in the first place. It must be serious, right? And so this one volunteered it, this prospect did, but sometimes you have to ask good questions. A couple pro tips with that. I like asking questions like, what were your thoughts, concerns that prompted you to request this information? Or what do you want to do with your new life insurance policy? Or what do you want, goals you want to accomplish with your new life insurance policy? So we need to frame that and establish what it is that is motivating them, because we go back to that as we sell and connect why they should buy today with their reasons why. It makes more sense for someone to get them to buy today if we connect it to that underlying undergirdled motivation. Does that make sense? So long story short, always be looking for the reason why. Pay very close attention to it, because you're going to hit on it again and again to convince your client to buy today, because that is the only option you give clients, is to purchase on the same day you first talk to them. First talk to them, because if they don't buy today, they go into the witness protection program and they're gone. You call them, they never answer again. It's just like they disappeared into the ethers. So don't let that happen, or your career is going to disappear into the ethers.
Sure. Yeah. So they probably have a big group policy, like a whole group, a group of you really, where there's no, not like there's probably term and life in there, but I mean, they're great policies. They're high coverage, but yeah, I have heard that. I actually did a policy the other day for a gentleman working for the state, and only a portion he could take, but he had to pay for it. And I thought, I thought the state would have let them, who knows? Yeah. But yeah, I can certainly, give you some quotes here. And so, well, let me ask you this. So the goal of the policy for you would be just to get coverage, because you're not sure if you're going to have it.
Right.
When you retire.
The goal, right. So the goal would actually be for me and my husband.
So this is again, I prefer, at least Gloria went down this route and said, so, okay, just make sure I'm clear. The goal is to do this for your policy. Again, we want to clarify what the intent is, right? You're never wasting time figuring out the intent, the motivation, what they want to accomplish, and asking them that, okay? So instead of presuming, ask. Never assume, ask. Now, with that said, you actually do assume in some elements of the presentation, but in this phase where we're asking questions, it's good to dig in and to figure out and be curious what motivates them. Also, this is really important too. And this comes from this line of questioning. What do you want your policy to accomplish? What happens if you don't? So another way to ask this is, well, what happens if you don't have coverage? Like, how are you going to take care of these final expenses you're concerned with? Like, is this something you can dig into your savings for? What happens if you have to spend money on a nursing home and you don't have it? How are they? You want your kids to pay for this? These are kind of the line of questions and statements to make to frame this in a way of what the pain points are if no action is taken, right? Because a person can choose to take action today, which we're an advocate of, or they can choose to not take action. That's taking action is not taking action, right? And if they do that, they'll just kind of sit where they are. And a lot of our prospects and final expense do that. They're called world-class procrastinators. Okay. There's it's the term we've used for like 2 decades now. They'll wait till the lid on the casket is closing to sign off on a life insurance policy if they could. So this is why it's important to cast what the positive is, the peace of mind and protection, but then also cast it against what the downsides of waiting is. And one thread to tie this all together is what? It's that death occurs not only to everybody, but unexpectedly. Even people who are healthy die. Obviously, people who are unhealthy die. And we don't know when that time's going to be. And somebody who's over 60 understands that, because likely they've seen somebody friends, family they love, they saw them last week and they're dead, right? So you need to remind them of this in conversation. Hey, we don't know when we're going to die, right? I mean, healthy people die. I've seen people that I got a policy on that died the next day. What if I didn't encourage them to get it? Again, these are things people don't think of or want to think of. So you have to push the envelope to get the person to sign the dotted line for that reason, not because you're jealous or greedy about getting money from them. No, but because you're an advocate for what they know deep down they absolutely need to do. And they'll wait on it if they don't till the last possible moment when it's, guess what? Too late. Like lawyers, you always want insurance when you can't get it anymore. All right, let's keep going.
Okay.
I carry my husband. I've been carrying my husband for years on my insurance, because it was just cheaper. And then as I worked up through the company, I have became management. So they paid for me, but my spouse. So they paid for me, but I would carry my spouse, so I would pay for my spouse because they paid for me.
Exactly. That's
right.
great. Yeah, 2 for the price of 1, right? I mean, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
So
okay.
So but now I'm at that age. I will be 66.
Notice that Gloria is letting the client talk and talk and talk, and there is power in doing that to an extent, because eventually people, if they like you, they'll talk to you more, and they talk themselves into doing it. Sales is about allowing people to sell themselves just as much as you're selling them. So it's not some hardcore word track where the client is not allowed to say a word. Gloria lets the client talk themselves into a pretzel to buy from us, right? And she's already starting to go through this. I'll be 66 in December. I haven't listened to this, but I'm thinking, I'm about to retire, not getting any younger. This is the kind of stuff that if they say it, they believe it, which is why we let our clients talk. Now, there's an extreme to this where you're hearing Mildred's story about what it was like to be in 1950s and this and that, and just on and on and on. So you got to develop a sense of when enough is enough. But these, in this section particularly, as they're explaining and selling themselves, let them get out of your own way, let them sell themselves, so your job will be that much easier.
In December.
When I talk to folks, especially if they're older in age, like in their mid 70s, and I always wonder, why didn't they get something before? But
because we thinking we're gonna be there forever, like me.
Right.
I'm just thinking I'm gonna work, and I'm that type of person. I'm gonna work until I die. And I just feel that way. I know retirement is what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
We're supposed to do this. But
Right.
I just feel like once I do this, I'm just so used to working.
Right. Oh, I get it. I totally get it.
Did y'all catch that? That's really good what Gloria did. Like, one thing, man, this is really good. So what she did there was she framed what bad behavior looks like and got the client to agree to it. Okay. So let me explain what I mean. So Gloria said, I talked to these people who are 70, and I'm like, why didn't they take care of this when they were younger and could? And it's very believable. Like, that was probably sincere. I mean, we actually believe this stuff if you're not already selling it. Like, I do talk to people who are 70 and 80, and I'm like, why did you wait so long? Like, why wouldn't you have done this earlier when you should have done it? But by saying that, we're helping reinforce what good behavior looks like. And notice how the client agrees. Yeah, because we don't think anything's going to happen. It'll just keep going and going and going. So the point being is we're not just making a statement. We're getting the client to agree with our frame of reference, our philosophy, if you will. And it sounds kind of cheesy, but if I can get the person to believe and go along with me willingly on what good action taking looks like being prepared, being thought out. And notice it's not me it's not Gloria lecturing her. It's Gloria making a statement, like just to a friend, and she's agreeing. And so the point in saying all this is, again, this is reinforcement to take action today. And these are the things you have to do because, man, life insurance is something you can put off until you're dead, which we don't know when that's going to be. But the temptation is always there, especially with the final expense market. Like it can, in their minds, many of them wait for another day, right? And she may say, well, I'm not retiring until December. Why should I wait, right? So you got to be prepared to defend that and talk about why now is the only time, it's the best time, and how tomorrow may never come. So these are, again, things that we say to get their belief patterns in line with ours.
Get it.
And people say you can travel, do all that, but if you don't have money to do all those type of things.
I know.
Yeah, right.
And then, you know, the people, you know, I work with, you know, they're all on a fixed income, you know, Social Security, and they're looking for a policy, you know, but I always tell them, okay, good. You know what? You're looking now, and don't worry about that you didn't get it before, because guess what? You're looking now and you want to get coverage, and then, you know, and they feel good about it, you know, so at least you start now, you know, that's what I always say. But okay.
Yeah. So one thing I would reinforce here is always compliment the client. Don't overcomplicate compliment them, because then it's obvious. But this is something I would say, hey, you're smart. I'll just be flat out with you. I talked to a bunch of older people than you, and they've waited too long. And sometimes I can't get them coverage because of their age, health, other factors. You're young, and you taking care of this now. This is smart. This is really smart that you're doing this today, because there may not be a tomorrow. Let's face it. You know, people have died suddenly and all, you know, without expectation. So again, that kind of mentality we're impressing upon in every conversation. No matter what y'all are selling out there, final expense or otherwise, figure out a way to complement their good action taking by voluntarily calling or taking your call and looking at taking action. And notice I've also presumed they're going to buy in that, because I'm so confident in what I'm doing. Now, this is where that assumptive language comes in, where we want to talk about by saying, hey, you're smart that you're looking at taking this out today. You're smart taking this out today because you're not getting any younger. And I'm saying it with conviction and confidence. And one of the funniest things about sales, I don't mean to go off a tangent here, is so much about sales. We think about the technical words that you say, and you probably have looked at scripts, and you've probably looked at different word tracks and processes. But look, there's a lot of ways to say a thing. But what really the magic is with sales that you eventually learn after doing this long enough is, are you bold and are you convicted? Enthusiasm, conviction, belief trumps any, you know, supposed beautiful word track. Like if you can convey your excitement, belief, and enthusiasm for something, and total belief, conviction that they should have this, that they need this, they must have it, and it has to happen today, without pushing them or berating or nagging them. If you can do it in this way, I mean, the world is your oyster. It really is. And that's sales. That's what does it. And again, one more tangent. Sorry, I got a lot of them. One thing you'll hear too, like Gloria, it's funny. She probably sells the most policies per hour in our agency. And she's a manager, teaches agents too as well. Like she sells like one every 2 to 3 hours. Like she's incredible. And she sustained this even as a manager. But she doesn't follow the script word for word. And I don't like penalize her or call her out. It's because the tonality and the belief and the conviction and the connectedness she has with her clients trumps the exact word for word script. So I'm not saying you should just do what you want, but once you know and can do the rules, you can break them, you can bend them. All right. But the rules are connectiveness, it's engagement, it's asking good questions, custom tailoring solutions. The exact words you say, as long as they're not just dumb, you know, saying something that just totally counts against you. But even if you sound convicted and believable, sometimes that's forgivable. But you know, as long as you're not doing that, it's tone, it's how you present yourself, it's how you sound to the client, and whether they believe that means you can be trusted or not. That's what really moves the needle on all remote life insurance sales, and why you should focus on how you sound more than what you say all day long.
Okay, so how much coverage were you thinking then, Sonia?
I don't even know.
Okay. Okay. Well, I can help you with that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can help you with that. So what I do is we will ask a few questions.
Okay.
In fact, all the insurance carriers I work with, you know, like Mutual of Omaha, Transamerica, there's Aetna. I have a lot that I'm.
Very good. So name dropping, connection, validity building, everything. Gloria did it perfectly.
Agent writing number for. So
Okay.
we can shop around, you know, based on your age and health, and then we go from there. And so I always ask people, okay, well, what do you want to cover? Is this for burial, cremation, and do you want to leave money left over for a beneficiary? And that's where the changes come in, you know, depending on how much coverage you want to get. Or my next question would be, what is a comfortable monthly premium you want to pay? Because I can get people that say, oh, I want to have this amount of money. But my goal is for you to get something that is affordable, you know,
Yes.
at least to start.
So one criticism here is I think Gloria's asked a bunch of questions and she's explaining her process, which is great. Like, okay, Mrs. Client, here's what to expect. I ask you questions. We figure out mutually together what we can accomplish, and then we make it work for you. Does that make sense? So that alone, that description I did is much more succinct and to the point. But what you want to be careful of, and look, people who care about their clients and doing right by them, sometimes this is something we just got to work on, which is over explanation. Now, Gloria is probably in the realm of over explanation. And again, this is a minor quibble. Not a big deal, but we're explaining too much of the process, offering questions we would ask, and then also follow-up questions to those questions we ask. It's overwhelming. Whereas what you need to do is get succinct with your explanations, get to the point, and then ask the appropriate questions to move the needle. What we've known so far is a client doesn't know what they want. So, okay, great, that's fine. So I'm going to ask you some questions. We'll figure this out together. So do you want to be buried or cremated, Mrs. Jones? Okay, you want to be cremated. Do you know what the average costs are to do cremations in your area? Well, okay, so for North Carolina, so now I'm going to a fact finding and explanation mode that's relevant to what the client wants. And I'm taking them question by question so as not to overwhelm them and making sure doing checks, is it making sense so far along the way so that they're along there with me and I'm not losing them. So once we do that, then we get to the pricing. But what I want to avoid is throwing it all out there at once, because where it may work with some, it may not with others, because it's just too much information. So the moral of the story here is slow down, certainly explain the processes, but be more succinct than over-explanatory. You can definitely do everything and you should explain things, but don't spend more than 5 or 10 seconds explaining what's going to happen. Follow up with a question, progress the sales presentation, and figure out more about what it is they want to accomplish, work with them on that to continue the process further.
And then you can always raise it up later on, especially because of being on a fixed income and, you know, a budget. You know, you got to be mindful
Yes.
of that. And there's no sense in getting a policy that you can't pay for.
True.
Yeah. So what I would do next is ask you a few questions. In fact, you said you're going to be 66, so you're 65. So let me just verify your age. What is your 1960? All right. Okay. So, and what is your height and weight, Sonia? 170. And then do you use any tobacco products?
No, ma'am.
Oh, good. Okay. And then how about your health? Anything
I'm
major
fine.
or minor? Oh, all right. So that's all you're taking. So the Linzess.
So just for the record, we skipped through a lot of the personally identifying information, including health.
And then your injectable.
That's it.
Okay. All right. Okay. So let's see here. Okay. Okay. So next question would be is coverage amounts and a good monthly premium. And I know you're probably not sure. I can start with some sort of an amount, and then we can go from there and see what, you know, sounds comfortable.
Okay. So
you want me to start like with the face amount?
Okay, so again, more critiques here. Face amount is insurance agent lingo. How much money do you want to leave behind to your loved ones is what you say instead. So again, remember, As you go through the licensing exam, you get your life insurance license, you learn about the carriers, you're going to be faced with a bunch of carrier-based lingo, terminology, et cetera. Instead, you need to be thinking like, what words would a prospect use? Okay. What do they say about their life insurance? Right. And what do they, and you'll pick up on this the more you do it. You want to speak their language. Good politicians do that within reason. They don't want to sound exactly like a duplicate and be phony, but we do want to speak at a level in which the client communicates through. One way to look at this is we all speak our own version of English, right? And the intelligent agent listens to how things are said and what they say and uses that language as they pick it up through the conversation. It's kind of like mirroring, where I mirror your body language. I'm going to mirror your language patterns too as well. And for telesales or remote-based final expense sales, that's all we got, okay? Now, with that said, one thing I would say here to step back even further is what we don't know what we know she wants life insurance because she's losing it, but we don't know what she wants to use it to accomplish for. Do we want to be cremated or buried? Do we want to leave money left over? So we're going through kind of like, let me just quote you, which again, it's better than nothing, but it's the least effective form of selling. What are you quoting them on and why is it relevant? We don't want to make this about a price. We want to make this about what are we looking to fix or accomplish or insure. So before you quote, always know what it is they want. What do they want to accomplish? Paint me a picture, Mrs. Prospect, of what you want your policy to do. And pay your cremation, leave money behind. How much do you think would give you that peace of mind? Frame that as first before you get to the pricing. Because if it's too much, well, then you can figure out a compromise. We'll probably talk more about that momentarily. But moral of the story is know what they want in specifics before you talk price, always.
Yeah.
Okay. How much do you want me to put? You're in control here, girl.
What is the normal coverage?
So you see, she's confused because your job as an agent is to what? Lead your client. Your job is not to let the client lead. That's what's funny about this. And this is again, as I grow older, you know, my reflections on life and sales are tremendous. I've always been a very laissez-faire salespeople. Like, you just tell me what you want, right? But as I've gotten older and realized that I have outer extremities of my knowledge and understanding, I actually look to salespeople and as leaders to help me make a good decision. I want, even as a person who runs a sales organization and does incredibly well, I want people that have the conviction to tell me what the right move to be is. I want to surround myself with people I can trust, okay? And I'll just do what they say if I trust them. And so my point is that if you allow your client to do all the thinking and deliberating, they'll think themselves out of doing it because they're just confused and unclear. Does that make sense? So one of the shortcuts that you can do as a new agent, whether you're new to final expense sales or sales in general, is get comfortable taking command. Tell your client what's best for them. Now, that's contingent on you taking time to understand what's best for them, asking them questions. But I always felt if I understand what they want, I can tell them what they need to do with conviction and belief. And my tone will take over in sounding convinced because I am convinced. And then the client will better, more often than not, follow my suggestion because of my conviction and belief. Does that make sense? So I really want you to work on that as a new agent, because if you give too much control away, then nothing happens, because people don't make decisions on their own. They need salespeople. No matter what people say about how much salespeople suck and they rip people off and they're high pressure, that's a minority of people. A lot of people have great experience with salespeople that help them make good decisions about important purchases. And those are the salespeople, incidentally, that make a ton of money and stay in their respective businesses. So be that good salesperson. Take charge. Tell people what to do. They need leadership. People need leadership. You hear it all the time. We need leaders. Well, that means leaders tell you what to do. And that's your job. If you're listening to this and you are like, yeah, that kind of makes sense, well, then do it. Lead your client to making this decision and be the person of conviction to do so.
Well, yeah, okay. So the average cost with, nationwide, and see, we're in North Carolina. We have software that looks up an actual funeral home. If you knew the name of one that you wanted me to look up.
Do not want to be buried.
Oh, okay. Yeah. 28206. Yeah, I hear that a lot actually, and it's
So we cut that portion off, just kind of sounded awkward.
you know, a
Yeah.
lot more affordable.
No,
Okay.
no, I
Let's
want to
see.
be do that.
Yeah, so a lot of people just get cremation coverage, but they also get some if they want to leave money, left over for their beneficiary. But really the average, in your area, it's going to be, gosh, it's going to run like between 1995 and depending on where you go, it goes all the way up to 3,800.
Okay, so we'll go with the 3,800.
So notice how she's just taking whatever the agent is giving her because she trusts her. That's what I'm talking about. And notice again, such an interesting. It's a sales is as much of as an art as it is a science. There's a science of sales, what you say, objection rebuttals, right? And then there's an art. And the art largely depends upon your connection with the client, which Gloria does magnificently well. The client just basically inside of like 10 minutes said, I'll do whatever you tell me, in so many words. It's what you said. And this is why it's really important to master this side of the equation more than just the script. Okay. The script helps you get there. It's a track to run on to leverage as you get better on the phone, as you get better presenting yourself. But ultimately it's what Gloria is doing that is the master outcome to effective high production and sales. A couple other things I'll say too here as well. And again, here's the thing. You got to frame, while it's important to any policy you sell is a good policy to sell. It's important to frame everything, not just in today's dollars, but tomorrow's dollars. We have this thing called inflation. And while there could be a cremation that costs $3,800 a day, if Mrs. Jones here is healthy at 66, she may have another 20 to 30 years left in her. Do you think a cremation is going to cost the same as it was 30 years ago as it is today? No. So we need to not just buy enough for today, but for tomorrow. So pro tip, when you present pricing, say, hey, look, in your area, it's about 2,000 to 5,000, but here's the thing, you're in fantastic shape. My honest suggestion, if you just want enough for cremation, is to get more than just for today's cost, but for tomorrow's, right? Just think about how much houses cost 5 years ago or how much eggs were 5 years ago. They're higher today, right? Yeah. So I would be looking why we could hook you up with 4,000, do the job. It's a smart decision as long as it fits your budget to get closer to 6 or 8 or even 10,000 because you need it with inflation and people who are healthy. Nobody knows they're going to die, but likely will live longer. Does that make sense, Mrs. Jones? Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And she would believe Gloria saying that, and it's true, but she would believe Gloria because she likes Gloria, right? She's going to do what she says. So make sure you add in the conversation about inflation and how that can affect the price and be prepared to present higher because then you'll make more money and the client's more secure. And the other thing you avoid, last point, is that another agent comes behind and says, oh, no, 4,000 is too little. Yeah, today, but what about 5-10 years from now? Look, we can get you this other plan and it's only X amount more for 10. And they'll be like, yeah, that makes sense. And then they'll replace you. So you got to be the one leading the charge. And if they don't want to do it, sell them the 4. I'm not saying don't, but you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right?
Yeah, you can certainly do that. Yeah, you can certainly do that. And that is very reasonable, actually. Let's see here. Yep. And that's actually, okay, so this is with Mutual of Omaha. If you did something like that for $3,800, that would be $17 a month.
What? That's it?
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, yeah, she was prepared to spend probably, I would guess, $50 to $100, right? Like was okay with that, right?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's very affordable. And, obviously.
So at this point, when I hear a reaction like that, I'm going for the jugular. Now, all of this, ladies and gentlemen, is nuance. I'm just using this in the, I'm not going to go for her jugular, right? I'm going to go for this close is what I mean. When I hear this kind of response, she's ready to buy. And so I'm going to kind of cut short what I thought had planned and strategically move to saying, hey, great. So, hey, $38, $3,817 a month. Who do you want your beneficiary to be? I think this is a great plan. This is perfect. It's going to pay for your cremation. So are you planning to leave this to your spouse? Is that the idea? Or who do you want your beneficiary to be? Move to the close. So what happens a lot of times with especially newer salespeople is they talk themselves out of a sale. They get to the close and then start talking and talking and talking, never actually asking for the commitment or progressing to the action taking. You have to actually pull the trigger at some point. Okay. You have to get to the app. And so when you hear a response that's positive, that's it. Wow. Cool. So who do you want your beneficiary to be? You could word it a little bit up more if you want a more transitionary, but you got to get past all this talk. It's time to do the app. Do not waste time because, again, agents will talk themselves out of a deal because they just talk too much. And the client starts to hesitate. They start to doubt your knowledge and conviction even. And they stop eating out of your hand. So get to the close when you hear a positive confirmation that the price is acceptable.
When you turn 66, it's going to go up, you know, but yeah, every year it will go up. So,
okay.
You know, yeah. You want me to look at a certain amount, or you want to keep it like that, and then you can decide later and see if we get.
We'll keep it at that.
Yeah.
We'll keep.
So that I did not like that language. Do you want to look at another amount? Do you want to decide later? We're introducing the possibility of not buying today. That's how it sounded to me. Maybe the Gloria thought differently. Luckily, the client's like, no, I want to buy. Don't go anywhere. You know. So, but you don't want to invite a hesitation, right? This just makes sense because, and again, final expense. This is a one call close business. You have to get the deal done today. The other thing too that I would recommend here is that we started with the lowest possible premium. We don't want to do that. And what we want to do is present these options. So get a pen and paper. Let me give you some options here, Mrs. Jones, because clients want options, okay? And again, why would they choose a higher option? It's because back to what we talked about earlier. It's because you've educated them on why one option is better than another, okay? So here's how I would paint this picture differently than Gloria. Again, easy to do this armchair quarterback analysis stuff. I'm not criticizing Gloria, just for the record, but these are some things you should inject into your presentation to offer more options and give you the opportunity to make more money, because the $17 premium is just not a lot of money, and you could arguably get a better deal for your client. So I would say, okay, so option A is the cheapest. It's $3,800 a month. That's going to cover your cremation. Option B is going to be $6,000 a month, or $7,000 in coverage. This is a good middle ground because it's going to take care of that inflation risk that we talked about and possibly leave some extra money left over. So the third option, which is our best option, is $10,000 in coverage. Now, this $10,000 plan, it's $55 a month. It's going to pay for your cremation. It's going to pay for it if you live a long life and cover the inflation potential. It's going to leave money behind to your loved ones so they can throw a nice party and have a good time and celebrate your life and leave them in a better spot. So my recommendation for you out of these three options, really, Mrs. Jones, I would pick the second or the third option, the good or the best option. Here's why. That $3,800, that's good today, but you're healthy. You're going to live a long time, I would think. So you're better off if you buy a little bit more to protect yourself against prices going up. We all know it's going to happen, right? So out of those three options, which one do you want to start with today? So do you notice how my framing of that gives the option, and she's probably trusting me, liking me, because I built that tonality to choose one of those two options that's best fit, right? So I think more often than not, I'm going to get more sales because of that presentation of options and rationalization of why she should pick these two, or pick one of these two I suggest. And I make a recommendation because I'm the expert. We've created relationships. She trusts me. She likes me. She knows what I'm talking about. And she's going to do what I say because I'm looking out in her best interest. I'm not suggesting these prices because they're the highest price, by the way. I'm suggesting them because I think they match the goals of what she wants, says she wants, and what she actually wants, which can be two different things. You got to be able to read between the lines and have some knowledge of the business. I'm not suggesting always suggest the highest price. I might be like, hey, I'm listening, Mrs. Jones, you should suggest the lowest option. I mean, you don't need a 25 grand. You could do a 10 grand and be just fine if I suggested a 10, 15, a 20 or something. You know, so I might suggest the lowest option. I have plenty of times. The point is you suggest options that best suit the client and add the most value for what they can afford for sure. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah, isn't that great?
Yeah, we'll start basic.
Yes. Yeah,
because
absolutely.
I might be doing two of those policies, but the second one would be for my husband,
Sure.
who does have diabetes.
Oh, that's okay. And so
Yeah.
what's his name? I'll just write that down. Let's see here. Okay, so do you want to go ahead and see if we get that approval for you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, I would not ask that question I would say, great. So who do you want your beneficiary to be? So as we get this application started, who do you want your beneficiary to be? Don't ask, assume. So in the closing, guys, if you're getting started in sales, you've never sold anything before, you have to have conviction and confidence in taking action and asking permission. Yes, you're going to get it sometimes. Obviously, it works. Okay. But it's better just to assume that they're going to buy from you. I mean, why wouldn't they at this point? Right. And even if you're not sure, you should assume, because sometimes people are on the fence, they're uncertain, but it's your leadership and conviction and how you demonstrate yourself, but also how you lead the client that pushes them over the edge. It's not pressure. It's leadership. It's not pushing somebody into buying something. It's leading the way to doing what they know deep down they should really do. So my suggestion for you is to not ask for them to buy, but it's to assume it. And you assume it by not even asking them to buy. You just say, who do you want your beneficiary to be? How do you spell your first name? What's your social? And just go into the application. They'll push back if it's a problem, and then you can address an objection at that point. Okay.
Yeah, and this will be with Mutual of Omaha. Okay, so let me pull that up here. Okay, and then I'll be asking you just a few more questions, and then like I said, you're not going to pay anything today. We can set that out for next month. If that's what you want to do, we can certainly do that.
Now, one thing I would suggest, I led my entire career doing buy now, pay later. Mrs. Jones, let's get you approved today. You don't even have to pay. We'll just set it up to your next payment when you get your Social Security number or Social Security check. However, one of the things we've modified our script to do is to ask for the payment today if they can make it. Why? Because first of all, that gets their policy enforced and covered immediately from the first payment versus waiting. Second of all, you get paid faster. And many carriers these days don't pay until the first premium has been collected. And if you don't collect the premium, you may wait weeks to a month. So if you want faster pay and you want to get more policies, and then the other thing too is when you get the first payment, like, it's stickier business. It doesn't lapse as often. There's a risk in putting that premium out to the following month. The client may change their mind, but if they make that first payment, they're more connected in belief in it. So I would say about 40%, that's been historically our experience, 40% of clients will buy if you ask them and pay the first premium, meaning buy. So they'll pay the first premium the first day if you ask for it. So if they don't make a big deal out of it. Just continue and set it up for the next Social Security deposit date.
And so they'll want to know if you have a valid bank account as well to set that up next month.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
That's the only way we could pay it?
You can pay, well, let's see, if you pay a different way, like with a credit card or Direct Express or a debit card, that will change our carrier options. I do believe, let me look here if Mutual of Omaha takes that. Let me look it up. Here we go. Okay, I actually have another carrier that will take, if you are going to use a debit card or some kind of other form of payment.
No, I was just asking.
So yeah, this would be what I would recommend here. As I would just say, actually, Mrs. Jones, the only way you can pay is either by monthly bank draft or by sending in a check for the full year's premium. Most people do it on the monthly bank draft. It's easier. It's Mutual of Omaha, good company. They know what they're doing. And if there's ever any issues, you can call. They'll work with you on the payments. Does that sound good? Does that make sense? Some kind of closing statement. But what potentially could have happened here, she could have said, oh, I'll give you my card. And then the problem you don't understand as a new agent is that you're going to be paid on an as-earned basis to get much smaller commission check because you don't get advanced commission on debit card or credit card business. So you want to avoid that as much as possible. If that's the only thing you can take, it's the only thing you can take. But you don't want to broach that issue if you can force it.
Yeah.
I work for a banking industry. I'm not too crazy about giving out my account number to stuff. That's why I was like,
oh, that's right. Yes. Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah. I'm not too crazy about that.
Yeah, I know. And it actually goes right into Mutual of Omaha's portal. And I mean, it doesn't go anywhere else as we're talking. That's, what I'm doing. It goes right into there.
So yeah, so this lady is what you're hearing here is the bank account objection. It is very common in this business that you'll run across it. I wouldn't say common in the sense that everybody has it, but if you hear objections at the end of the call, this is probably the most common you're going to hear. So the way to overcome that is say, hey, I totally understand, totally get what you're saying. I don't even blame you. But here's the deal. This is Mutual of Omaha. 100% trustworthy company. And the information we're recording today goes directly into their company. I don't even touch it. Okay. Once it's in the system, I can't see it anymore. And that's that. Okay. So I totally understand where you're coming from, but look, bottom line, we're going to get you protected. We're going to get your plan in place. You know, you need this and you don't have to worry about this. Make sense? So I would kind of say something like that, like, hey, no big deal. It's a big company. They trust it. They take care of it for you. And then go back to what motivates them. This goes back to what we talked about earlier, which is, hey, you know, the bottom line, let's do this. This is great. The bank issues no deal, no big deal. You're going to be fully covered, have your cremation covered, have peace of mind, whatever they told you, just to kind of go back to that emotional reasoning and then ask them, that makes sense? We cool? Okay, cool. And then proceed from there.
So are you okay with that, or?
I'm not sure, but we'll keep talking.
Okay.
So she'll buy eventually, and she did. But the reason I included this, we're about done with this, because I wanted you to hear that sometimes just continuing to talk about it and have this discussion is good. But you notice also Gloria kind of sounded unsure. Are you okay with that? Like, you need to be confident. Like, hey, I get what you're saying. And this is no big deal because this is Mutual of Omaha, or this is American Amicable, or this is Sika or Lincoln Heritage. It doesn't matter what company. It's a great company. They really take your protection of your data seriously. And I put this information and I don't ever see it again. Okay. And this is by far the best way to get the best price. Okay. So you're protected. And more importantly, when this plan is approved, you have peace of mind and you don't have to worry about losing insurance. You just keep it up, you pay premiums, and you're totally protected. Make sense? Okay. So what was your bank account? And then you can grab it and get it. And so just stay on it with conviction. They want to hear that you believe and are totally convinced that it's safe. And that's more about how you say things than anything else. Well, guys, I think we're going to end it here. So I want to wrap this up with some takeaways here, because you probably, if you're still with me, you're probably newer, either just getting started, about to get started, and you probably were on this to get some tips. So what would I say about this call? That would be the most biggest takeaways. The number one thing is your tone. You got to sound like a pro. You got to sound commanding. You got to have presence on the phone and totally convicted and confident in yourself. That is what moves the ball down the field in this business. If you don't sound convinced or convicted, people won't buy from you. They get the ick. They get like, they don't know about you. And it's how you sound more than anything else, not what you say. So if you have conviction, that is the magic spell to cast on your clients, is sound confident. Work on sounding confident. Look, if you're not confident, everybody's not confident to start, but you got to fake it. There's a level of act as if, and you'll get more and more confident as you do it, but you got to kind of have to like act as if you were confident, right? It's a very helpful exercise to do. So that's the number one, 80% of the takeaway that I would say is work on your tone. Also, along with your language, whatever kind of script that you're using or will use, make sure you're assuming the sale. When you get on the phone, the practice I want you to think of is, oh, I'm talking to somebody, I'm making a sale. Every person you talk to, you're going to make a sale. You're making a sale. And when you have that mindset, yeah, you won't obviously make all of them as sales, but if you have the mindset you're going to make the sale today, you're going to be more likely to assume the sale. Assume you're going to make it. So your language follows that mindset. Okay, we have to kind of trick our brains because you're going to talk to a lot of people. The paradox of sales is talk to more people who don't buy than do buy. So you have to kind of mold your mindset in this way, to think this way, and to eliminate the sound of uncertainty from your voice, and to instead replace it with the sound of utmost clarity and conviction, because that is what's going to make you sales. Thank you so much for listening. If you like this kind of training and coaching, and you like the idea of working TV leads, if you're a brand new agent or thinking about agent, look, Dig Agency, it's where to be. It's my company. You can check out more about how it works. We have a free lead program for remote-based life insurance agents that want to work from home. We take beginners. We take people who've never sold anything before. We take part-timers as well. Check it out at davidduford.com. Click the link below to learn more. And thanks for watching.